gonna do it. guys are live.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. How's everybody doing today? I hope we're all feeling positive and great about life. And as I said, this is the Olympian Table. We're there to sort of put people on the right track and, you know, go live their dream. And let's see if we can get you into some ways of perhaps making a little bit more money. Let's get you going. And James, how are you doing, my bro?
I'm doing well, sir. I am doing well. I didn't have to swim into work today.
Yeah, but we had a bit of a storm coming in
close.
today.
It was close, but I'm here and I cannot complain one bit. So
I had a good bath coming into work today, and the bath was for free.
Hey, you know, that's the one for the month, right?
Shower.
You squeeze it in about, you have 4 days left, so you had to get it in for the month. So.
Yeah, and I was worried about, maybe we lose internet today and we couldn't do the podcast. I know that, we've got some people out there that are hopefully looking at us. So we was just sort of, wondering how we're doing. How we doing, Crypto King at the end there, Mr. Jack?
I'm good. Hanging in there.
He wasn't expecting that one. But there you go.
We're all good, all good.
We rely on Mr. Jack.
Absolutely.
For his input.
Definitely appreciative of what he brings to the table.
So what we got going on, James? We've got
we got the first, got to do the little
local stuff.
The Astros, man, what are y'all doing? Y'all, they lost the game last night. There were some offensive challenges. We lost 6-2 to the Braves, but we got to give them hope, right? We got to give them hope. Got to do the little rope-a-dope deal and win the next 2 games before we go over to Atlanta to seal off the victories over there.
Did you hear about Mattress Mac? He's put a $2 million bet on it in Vegas at Caesar's Palace.
Oh, I believe it.
And if he wins, apparently he makes $36 million.
$36 million.
Yeah, it's the biggest legal bet in the country.
Got to put the legal in there, right? So he's doing it above board.
I wonder what paperwork he had to go through to do that. I mean,
you know what? That's what we know about, but who knows what he's betting under the table?
No, Mattress Mac's not like that.
Oh, come on. All those furniture guys are. They sell furniture, man. You know the markup on furniture? Oh, my goodness.
I don't, actually.
You got to be a little bit of a...
mattresses. Oh my gosh.
Oh yeah, man. You got to be a little bit of a mattresses and caskets. Man, markup is ridiculous.
No,
it is ridiculous.
But it's not just me that's knocking the church.
But nevertheless, it's it is what it is. We're hoping that the Astros can get it together as they.
Did they lose before they came through to the World Series? Did they lose the first one at that, or did they win the first one?
No, they actually lost the third one, I believe, what it was.
Okay,
but they pulled it off. And I think
I love the Astros, but not really into the Rounders thing. But there you go. But
Oh, you're more of a football guy, right?
Soccer, yeah, that's right. Good old soccer.
Yeah, there you go.
And my team's getting hammered every week at the moment. Aston Villa, we're getting hammered. We've lost three in a row.
Yeah. So, but that's that. We'll stick with it, and we'll kind of see what happens.
Yeah.
From there, but
roll Astros. Let's get going.
Go Astros.
So what we got going on, James? Come on, what's the first thing we're going to talk about today?
Oh man, actually, I think we had some interest in talk a little bit about this financials
with Bitcoin.
This is a space, of course, that there's a lot of interest in it. We have our own resident SME, as we call it, to just kind of give his input on it. But of course, we all have our own opinions in it. We all have our toe in the pond. We can all agree to that, because we know that Bitcoin or cryptocurrency in general is a step in the future. So I think there's a space for us to just kind of dive into, talk about something financial, and then we'll get into the Bitcoin stuff and the ETFs. And
I just hope there's not a shark in the water. That's the only problem. When I dip my toe in, I want to make sure there's not a.
Well, there might be a shark. There might be a shark, but you just got to make sure that you work through it, and move on down the line with it. So,
but with the incredible surge that there was with the Bitcoin price last week, I was trying to find out, what was the basis of that?
Where did it come from?
Yeah.
What was the push?
And then I found this article, and it'd be interesting to get, some people's opinions on this, to be perfectly honest, regarding EFTs.
ETFs. Yeah, the Bitcoin ETFs.
Sorry, yeah. And I was sort of, asked Jack to sort of get involved in this because, he's really into the Bitcoin thing, the older folks, if you want to put it that way. We're sort of still learning to adjust to Bitcoin, and Jack's been saying for a long time, Bitcoin, cryptos. And we're like, what? And it was interesting. We was talking to Jack in the week, and I said, Jack, you young adults, and I said, I don't want to call you a kid, and he said, but there are kids that have made millions of dollars, in cryptos, right, because they've got into this. It's like they're not out buying lollipops; they're out there buying, cryptos. Well, do you call them lollipops, or do you call it just candy?
Well, if it's a lollipop, there is a difference. A lollipop, you got suckers,
Oh, okay.
But ultimately, this ETF stuff, exchange traded fund is what we're talking about. As green as I am in it, I did do a little bit of research on it, and ultimately they're like mutual funds. That are traded on the stock exchanges. So you can buy them. They hold assets, like stocks and bonds and currencies and cryptocurrencies and such. So I think it's a new product to the investment mix, to where people can put their money into these things and they kind of hold the same, or I won't say the same because I'm not a part of one, but basically on the same lines as a mutual fund, where the risk is not supposed to be as high because it's a little bit more diversified as you put your money in there.
So it's like a mutual fund?
That's what it is. I mean, well, that's what I'm saying. It's like a mutual fund.
Okay.
Basically, it's similar to a mutual fund in many ways. And mutual funds, of course, are indexed by different stocks and different other assets. So if one tanks, then you don't lose all of your money in the deal. It's spread out, across different types of assets.
Mm-hmm. Let me ask you a question. When did you start to get into the crypto thing? Was it when you met Jack?
No.
You was in it before?
I was in. I've
How long ago?
Probably about 2 years ago is when I initially got into it.
Why did you get into it?
Because one, when you hear people talk about it so much, you kind of wonder, what is this all about? So you do a little bit of research, and then you find out exactly what it is. And it's like, okay, well, I could see that being a wave of the future. Kind of one of those, the fear of missing out, the FOMO. You don't want to miss out on something, so you put a little bit of money into it to see if it'll run. And that's what I did. Now, did everything work out for me? Not necessarily. My wife and I laugh about one that I got into. A buddy of mine reached out that it was supposed to be so big and it's supposed to be so grand on the return, and I probably made $1,000 on it. But he was talking about like retiring, and he went all in. He lost more money than he probably should have, but it didn't end up being as big as what he thought. But nevertheless, the crypto was still there. We still own the crypto. The values are up, and they've been up. And then I just kind of started spreading mine across to the different ones: Ethereum, Bitcoin, and some of the others. So it's just kind of one of those things. Some people don't believe in it. Some people rather put their money in stocks.
Because one of my previous business mentors said that for financial freedom, what you need to do is to have different income streams.
Right.
So I've got a few rental houses, not as many as I have done. At one time I had 83 condominiums, but that never made any money because you've got to pay HOA fees.
Right.
So I need, right. And then right. I wish that I would have bought single family homes. Now I've managed to buy 5 single family homes one way or another, which has been a bit of a challenge, but initially when you buy it, there's no cash flow at all. And I've looked at other things, and then when Jack's got me into it, and he started talking about crypto, and then at night time we hear him on his computer shouting about crypto with his friends and everything else. You think, well, is there something in this? So I started to look at it. And I started to look a little bit deeper into it and thinking, well, there's crypto. And then somebody else that I met, actually, we're having a meeting in our office on, I think they're trying to do it the 8th of November. About trading Forex. And, I'd looked around at different things, and I actually looked at a system which was called I Am Academy. And I'll be honest with you, I joined first when I was in it for about a week and thought, nah, this isn't right. And, you looked online, there's a lot of reviews that said, it's a scam,
Right.
and this, that, and the other. And I thought, nah, I'm not going to do it. And time's not right, so maybe I'll look at it later. And then I managed to, because of that, hook up with some of the people that did it. And I did join it about 4 weeks ago, and didn't realise there was so much to it. So I managed to sort of find a mentor with that, and two mentors actually that I really like. One was Yellen, another was a young African American kid that's called Nigel Hammett. That's just amazing. If I was 27, I'd like to be like him. To be perfectly honest, I've just bought his book on Amazon called Get Funded, and there's another one called the Candlestick. What is it called?
Bible.
The Candlestick Bible. That's right. And then I was talking to Jack about it, the other day, and he had his concerns about it because there's so many people out there that are, experts in this and giving advice, and there's some people out there, just scamming you. So
Get rich quicker.
Right, absolutely.
Yeah.
So what do? He said, well, you can find everything on Twitter. And I think the older generation, I've always been brought up with it. You need a mentor. If I was looking for a coach, before I did Olympics, and I was looking for somebody who I thought was a good coach, I always look at their students and see if their students are good, and if I liked how the students were skating from a technical level, was they getting the results in competitions? Well, of course, I spoke to you about this is a completely different market. So, and if anybody's interested in contacting, Nigel Hammett, just go to the digital track, which is on Discord, and I'm actually really impressed with him, and the group that they've got are really impressive, to be perfectly honest. But going back to it, if I get into anything, I like to have a mentor, because I'm not very smart, but what I will do is work at something until I feel good at it, and I think that's more important than being smart, But to be perfectly honest, I'm going to turn to Jack in a bit, and he's got some opinions on why Bitcoin shot through the roof, because I was trying to honestly find a reason why it went up. Because when you read this article, which we found was a lot of people were saying that Bitcoin increased to the levels that it did. And one of the reasons why it did, can you go to the top, Jack? Can you get to the top? Was basically saying that, it sort of part of that was due to, ETFs. And that's not your opinion, correct, Jack?
Yeah, so the first thing I would point out in an ETF, we should make sure my microphone is on, is that right here it says the ProShares ETF, which buys Bitcoin futures contracts. So they're not buying the cryptocurrency itself, they're buying contracts of the future value.
So is that like shorting something? Is that like
it's exactly it's a futures contract. So it's basically like a leverage trade, but they're not it's not going out to individuals, it's going out to the exchange fund instead, and they're trading that. And so you're basically piggyback, and that's why they have ETFs are really good. Like there's a SPY ETF, I think that's an ETF. Yeah, so this is the one that a lot of kids, like in their 20s, that I see in the stock market, they say just buy SPY calls and then just let it ride, because SPY will go up and down. It's just like
calls, you said, what's that?
Yeah, options trading.
Okay.
So they will just. This is like the moneymaker for a lot of people right here, and I think this is based on I don't know what exactly. Let me get rid of this. I don't know what exactly covers the SPY. Oh, it's just S&P, I think. What is the SPY? But yeah, I don't know why someone would want to invest in a Bitcoin ETF other than a multi-million-dollar hedge fund. Because why would you buy a share of something when you can just own the asset outright, itself, and then you literally can cold storage it and stuff with a SPY share or a ProShares share, a BTFD share is the ticker. It's in the exchange still, so it kind of defeats the purpose of the cryptocurrency altogether. The SP 500, also known as the SPY ETF, is one of the most popular funds to track the Standard & Poor's 500 index, which comprises 500 large and mid-cap U.S. stocks. So yeah, it's just like the big players in the stock market.
Because I was reading an article where there was some big investor who was a single female, but she used to invest large amounts of money, and she was basically saying what she invests. So 20% of what she invests is ETFs. And then she had like 40%, which was cryptocurrencies, and the rest was stocks, which I thought was interesting. And I'm like, where did this ETF thing come from? Is it a relatively new thing, Jack?
ETFs? No, they've been around.
No.
They've been around for some time.
Yeah.
And I actually made a lot of money on I don't even know what it's called anymore, but when I was into stocks, Sunrun ETF, I was into ETFs. There's an electric ETF that just covered like the top 10 electricity companies. And that, I mean, they are a safer bet for like newer people because you're not betting on like the player, so to say. You're
Right.
betting on the game.
Right.
So like instead of me betting LeBron James is going to be the best player, I can bet
That the
basketball will be the biggest
Right.
sport in the game. So ETFs like have value, but obviously with less risk comes with less big green dollar signs.
Right.
So that's not my
Much like the mutual
Do you know?
funds.
Hey, okay, all right, okay. So Jack, let's get. How long have you been doing this now?
like 2 years.
Okay, and how have you learned about this? Because you're obviously very knowledgeable at what you do. Look, I'm a new guy to this. Okay, I'm used to being a real estate guy. Right. But to be perfectly honest, all this intrigues me. And I've got to tell you, since I've been doing the IM Academy, and that was I think that's just the start of it, to be perfectly honest. But it was interesting to learn people talk about strategies and parallel lines and all this. It was sort of interesting to learn to do. How have you learned about this?
You lose a lot of money.
So if you wanted to start doing some of this,
Yeah.
how would you recommend that somebody gets into this through is it EF, was it
ETF.
Well, first of all,
ETFs, or how would you recommend that they start?
you don't trade, first of all, because you can buy and hold cryptocurrencies without trading it. Trading is just you're doing intraday market movement. Like when I started for the first year, I was just buying and holding Ethereum. Like just like how James is doing.
Right.
Just buy it, hold it.
Right.
You see it go up 10%, 20%, you're like, okay, I'll wait till it goes down to buy more. But when
Exactly.
you're trading, you're like looking at 4-hour candles, you're drawing lines on the charts
Right,
and all that.
right.
And that
And my hardest thing that I've started since I've been doing this, to be perfectly honest, is even through Lee Yellen and through Nigel Hammett on different systems that I've used or trying to use, it's been interesting getting into the community that they have around them, because I feel that you learn from the community, but they do it so quickly that it's difficult to do, and my systems aren't set up, and that's the hardest part to set up. You know, that's the hardest part I've found, to be perfectly honest. So from you, how did you learn about this, Jack? I mean, you said that you learned a lot from social media and being on groups knowing people.
No, like I said, you literally lose money. That is the way, because once you lose your money, that is like you either learn from that mistake or you do it again.
Okay, because the mentors that I've spoke to and had the opportunity to sort of converse with, they've all said, don't do any trading, and just do a demo account for the first 12 months. Don't trade anything. Well, of course, me being Stephen, I didn't listen to them. And about 2 weeks ago, I did my first trade. And on my first trade, I made a profit,
Oh, good.
3 cents.
Hey, a profit is a profit.
Yeah, only one problem. On my second trade, I lost $1.85.
So you're in the hole.
But at least it was only $1.85. So what would be, Jack the Crypto King at the end? What would you suggest that
Do not leverage trade. Just buy it and hold it in your Coinbase.
to do a 1-to-1?
Yeah. Well, it's not really 1-to-1. Well, I guess it is
Unless
1-to-1. But,
Yeah. I mean, got
But
the
you
money
shouldn't
that way.
be engaging in a futures contract or any derivatives market for the first
Now, derivatives. What do you mean by
trading.
As in forex?
Leverage trading,
As
yeah.
in crypto? Oh, anything. A derivative?
So, do you know the difference between leverage trading and then just spot trading?
No.
Leverage trading is when the exchange lends you money on a 1-to-1 cost basis of your dollars. So if you have 125x leverage, that means for every dollar you spend, their notional size they're going to give you, which is the total amount, will equal 125. For example, what is 125 times 125? So if I have $125 that I invest in at 125x leverage, this is how much money. Let me put it on.
15.
So if you lose, who pays the difference? The broker, or you have to make it up?
You pay the difference. The exchange will always make money regardless from it.
And they make money on the spread, correct?
Yeah. So $125 on 125x leverage will give you this much money, right here. And so you can leverage trade that. Now, is that a good idea? Probably not, because there's a lot of factors that go into that. But you have things like this where you can leverage trade, or you can just, if you have $200, you can just buy $200 worth of Bitcoin, which obviously will not get you $1,500 worth of Bitcoin, but it's a much safer bet because you can buy and hold it. If it goes down, you literally just hold it until it goes back up. There's less risk there.
And that's why risk management, all the mentors tell me risk management is the most important part, correct?
Yeah. And I'm so glad I was like a gambler as a kid, because like that, you get the risk management out of the way very, very quickly. So yeah, I mean,
explain that a little bit further.
Like for example, I did a SHIB trade. I showed James, it was up like 100%. And then 3 days later, it was up like 400%. Well, if you 4x your money, you're probably thinking, oh, maybe I can get one little more X out of that, you know? When in reality, you're already 4 times up the initial investment. So it's probably a better idea to just walk away and take what you got paid. Pay yourself.
Yeah, well, that's one thing that some of the mentors I spoke to have actually said is, you know, you're better off taking 5 pips out of it than you are waiting. And, you know, you get greedy and you get more and more and you think, oh, I'm making more. But sometimes you're just better off taking a few.
That happens a lot because this earlier, well, last week actually, and I think I was mentioning to you. I think I might have mentioned it to you, Jack. So the company that's going to be backing this new social media platform that President Trump is going to be releasing, called The Truth, they went public.
Yeah.
And in one day, it started at like $9.
You went up, what, 4 times?
It started at $9. By the time I got in, it was $27. It shot to $130. And 1 day run in it. I got in, got as much as I could, got out. It's just one of those things.
What's it back to now?
Last night it was at $56.
Okay,
so
well, if you bought,
it's still not bad. But
if you got in at $9 and it's 56, it's still a good.
It's still, but if you didn't get out when it was at a 130, because I had already had my stop loss set, so that whenever it started to come back down, I still wanted to have some money. So,
what system do you use to put your stop loss in there?
I use Fidelity. Fidelity's platform is pretty intuitive and it's very user friendly for that person that, like almost every button has.
But Fidelity will only do stocks, correct? Because a lot of
you got ETFs and stocks on there. You can't buy any current cryptocurrency though.
Right. Okay. Because that's a U.S. regulation.
Yeah.
When do you think? Do you think the U.S. will ever turn around and be in a position where you can trade, you know, crypto?
They're going to have
in the U.S. I think they've got to. I mean, it's ridiculous.
I think they're going to have to.
You know, I've been looking for different systems to trade crypto to be put, and it's so difficult to set up because of U.S. regulations. You know, you can do currencies with different things, and you've got to go to. You know, I've been told to go to brokers in Jamaica because they're not regulated by the U.S.
Right.
And that's what I'm saying. It's so difficult to set up some of them systems. But you're saying, Jack, you don't need that?
I mean, you need it to make good money, but just because you can, anything that makes you rich can make you just as poor, just as quickly.
Hey, that is so true.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying. If you've got the information, or hopefully the likelihood, and it's how you get that information. So you've got a strategy, because everybody's got a different strategy. At the moment, I'm being very, very conservative because of where I am in the loop.
That's safe when you don't really know it.
And that's what Jack was. Jack was in a position when he started. What was he doing? I mean, perhaps he should have been called Jack the Gambler, Crypto King. But, you know, so he was a gambler and he's young enough to be that. Sorry, somebody that's 61 years old.
Yeah, exactly.
I can't, you know, I've got to be a bit more conservative.
Sure.
I'm relying on TradingView to give me my numbers, you know, to see whether it's a triangle or whether it's a parallel line or, you know, whatever. So, and I'll be honest with you, I've enjoyed it. It's been so nice to get away from real estate, to do something different, to learn a bit more. And honestly, I found it so motivational to get on a call every morning with some of these people.
Well, it keeps you sharp. It'll keep you sharp.
It gives me a reason to get out of bed, to be perfectly honest. And I find it very motivational. And that's why I want to thank Yellen and Nigel Hammett, because it's helped me, it's motivated me from a personal life as well. And you know, they did a thing last night with Nigel Hammett and his group on. I suggest to everybody, go to, you know, the digital trap and get enrolled in, you know, with Nigel. But the truth of the matter is, they sent daily schedules of different people. And it was saying what they do, and some of the people get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, you know, their breakfast, they do their workout, they're doing, and it's nice to know what some of them people are doing and how that in itself, it's motivational. And that's sort of the part that I've enjoyed about it, and it's sort of made it a bit easier coming to work.
Hope that and now you can see where we get the morning call idea from, that me and James have been talking about.
No, absolutely. I mean, it's really.
Look how invigorated you are.
No, absolutely. But you know, my motivation is because I'm 61 years old, and I want to be in a position where perhaps I've got something when I get to, you know, 65, 66, whether I even retire or not. But it'll be nice to have just something a bit more, where even if you haven't got to work a bit more. But the part that really I find motivational, and you know I've got it on here that I said I want to talk about this, is when I'm on that call, when I'm on the Discord with even Nigel's group, the thing that motivates me, and I mentioned this to you and I mentioned it to Jack, you get, some of these are younger folks, let's say, all right, and they are motivated, you know, some of them are making incredible amounts of money, in my opinion, in one day.
Right.
I just showed you one of them, that one of the people, and that was one trade.
Right.
You know, and agreed they can lose as well. But the other thing that motivates me is some of them are African American, and indirectly, if you look into the future, I'm probably not going to be around then. But the truth of the matter is, that's going to change society, in my opinion. I know Jack said that he's sort of, you know, and I want to get onto that later on, is, you know, what do we say about young people, 20 to 30-year-olds? Oh, they're, you know, arrogant and conceited and everything else. And, you know, I think we've let them down. When you actually ask that to, you know, to Jack, you know, what's your answer to that, Jack? What's your response? Why you feel that, you know?
Well, America,
regardless of what our differences are, Jack, I respect you as my son.
So in America, right, the whole premise of America is everyone for themselves, and that alone will set everybody back very heavily, especially those who are marginalized.
Well,
right.
I wouldn't say everybody, because that's not my philosophy. My philosophy is
just as a whole.
Everybody should be,
directly or indirectly.
as a whole, I agree with you.
Yeah, so like even, and you see it when you're driving down 59, right? There's a dude who will literally pretty much almost kill you just so he can save like a minute on his drive time.
If that much time.
Yeah, like even if, and it's like, that's just America. And so, unfortunately, most of us are given a bad hand. Us three in this room right now, we're not. Now, of course, our hands could have been better. There are people who are in significantly less fortunate circumstances. So we are lucky. I think we are part of the lucky bunch in terms of where we are. Obviously, hard work and all that other stuff.
But let's go back to the conversation that you and me had. Well, heated conversation that we had in the week is the best way to put it. When you said about you feel that society has let you down as a 20 to 30-year-old, correct?
Yeah.
And who do you blame for that?
Corporations.
Corporations?
Yeah.
So do you feel that that's capitalism? Do you feel that's just the society? Do you feel that's America? As a 2030...
It's just American greed. I don't think it's capitalism.
You think it's American greed?
I think capitalism is like the gateway drug to American greed, in a sense. But I don't think capitalism is inherently the problem. Now, I think when you utilize... In most cases, when capitalism is utilized, it's very advantageous to the upper class. But capitalism has to exist in a free market.
Right.
It's very important.
And do you feel the likes of cryptocurrency are a way how the 20 to 30-year-olds can take part of that back? Or do you feel it's part that makes you more...
No, I think I think cryptocurrency is just one of those things like Bitcoin where eventually you will see corporations. Well, that's literally what's happening right now is corporations will buy into it and basically control it. It's just right
Are
now.
they ever going to be able to do that though? Do you think they're honestly going because with the blockchain and the way it works? I mean,
The blockchain, so you must not understand the blockchain because the way the blockchain works is anyone can buy it and anyone can use it and anyone
can mine it.
It doesn't matter who you are, you can buy it and you can use it. Now, can the US say, hey, you can't do that? Yeah, but that doesn't stop the blockchain from allowing you to do it because the blockchain is not an entity. It is an entity, but it's not a person, it's not a business, it's a computer. It's just a bunch of computers in one computer pretty much. So the blockchain can't tell someone no. If you give the blockchain $100 and you say, hey, I want $100 worth of Bitcoin, it has to do it for you. So what we're seeing right now is that corporate adoption of Bitcoin specifically, because they know it's one of those assets that no one can touch. No one can touch it. And then when that happens, I think right now you just have a case scenario where a lot of these people can get in early because they know that the multi-billion-dollar corporations will buy this up. So you either have a chance to get rich with them or just crash and burn at the end and be a no-coiner.
So when the corporations get involved with this, what do you think the outcome will be?
Market manipulation. People will start looking
like they've done with gold and
Right.
I mean, and
the
it
dollar.
happens now. Like it literally happens now. It's just not to the extent that people notice. And that's another thing. Is like a lot of people don't realize that Bitcoin is unregulated. It's an unregulated market. So there's nothing to say. So the way the U.S. political system handled the GME spiel, they would have a really bad time with Bitcoin because there's not stopping anything from 10 guys on a yacht with $10 billion each from saying, hey, let's just all sell our Bitcoin right now just to screw everybody over. They could do it. That's just how it works, and that's life. So I don't think the U.S. will want to regulate it because they can't, and it would look stupid for them to try. They can definitely keep tabs on how you deal with it, but yeah, it's just... It's good. Everything in this world gets eaten up by corporations at some point. It doesn't matter who you are, when you are.
Do you think that can ever be controlled?
Nope.
It won't be.
Nope. And then even the thing is, like, guess who? Corporations control everything to the point where they control your politics as well. And so once
that's the part that upsets me. Regardless, with Democrats, Republican, whatever, I don't care. It's annoying to me that you get the lobbyists that. In there, putting their points forward. And that's the part that I really think, them politicians, they're there to represent the people, but they're not representing the people, they're representing the corporations.
Of course.
And they're representing different associations, and that's what I think is so unfortunate with the whole thing.
it's just funny because like I was out one time and this guy asked me because he asked what I identify as, and I told him I think I'm a democratic socialist, and then he just immediately starts saying, oh, so you like AOC. It's like, dude, I hate AOC more than I hate Donald Trump. Like, but that shows you how book covery this entire society is. Like, as soon as you associate with one thing, you are this, and that.
Man,
and it's like even while I might be a socialist, there has never been a correct use of socialism in history ever.
Well,
it has never been executed correctly.
That's part of my frustration, to be perfectly honest, because people in the past, when I mentioned different things, you must be I would look at myself as a democratic socialist. I do. That, in all fairness, a true democratic socialist, you can actually come down on the Republican side as well. You really can. I mean, I look at myself more as a swing voter, to be perfectly honest, but I want to feel that there's more of a future. And one of the points I was trying to get to earlier on, if you as a 20 to 30 year old, and one thing you mentioned to me on Monday that I feel was important, because you said, you feel as if, you have no future because of different things that have gone on in America. And to me, that's so disappointing. That is so disappointing, because I think to myself, have the older generation like me and even 50-year-olds and 40-year-olds but at the same time, perhaps we should have done more and been more active from an activism
Well,
point
you
of view.
guys, but that's the thing is like the older generation, you guys lived in a different society where you guys were more so just did what you were told. Like everybody was told, go to college, you'll get a house.
Which you know I don't agree because I'm a college dropout.
Yeah, but like 20 years ago, that's just what you did because houses were like $10,000. Well, not 10 years ago, but back in when the U.S. economy was booming, right? At its peak, when taxes for the top 5% were 80 to 60%, houses were like $10,000, and that was like a minimum wage job price. So America got really on top of things and just rode the roller coaster until the point where it got so corrupt that it was so obvious. So it happened very quickly too. Like we're talking like 5-10 years.
So
it was really Donald Trump, I feel like, that started the whole like awakening thing, because a lot of people from the left side were like, wait, you can't do that. And then everyone on the right side was like, it's been happening the entire time. You guys just don't recognize it. And now everybody is like up in arms about like everybody is screwed up. And it's like, it's been like that ever since.
And one of the things to me, you see, which is, and I was actually, you know, I'm slow, and James know I'm slow. It takes me time to sort of get things in and ingest things and munch them up. But one of the things that was interesting to me,
all those falls on the ice.
It is. But you know, but the truth of the matter is, I'm thinking to myself, you know, what future has this country got? And I've always said that I think one of the problems with America is that, you know, we're very conceited as a country. I'm American now, and I'm proud to be an American. But are we conceited? We're saying, well, we're the best country in the world and everything else. And, you know, really, are we? But if we haven't got a future for our youngsters, you know, and I don't mean that disrespectfully, Jack, and I really feel that, you know, if they've got no future, like I came over here in all fairness because I lost my job in England, and it just so happened at the time that I was lucky enough to get a job in America. I thought, well, what have I got to lose? You know? But then when I came over here, then I saw my first thing when I got, even 95, which isn't that far away, that's sort of, you know, 20 years ago, I'm like, well, I like the idea of the American dream. You know, and I bought my first house, you know, when I was 24 years old. Now, granted, I was earning a good, you know, wage in the UK, but I bought my first house at 24. James, how many people buy their first house?
At 24?
Yeah.
It's not happening.
So what would you say the youngest person is that buys a house?
Well, now you're looking at the millennial ages, you're looking at people that are going to be closer to 30. You know, late 20s into their 30s that are buying their first home.
And you see, also, it's like, you know, with Jack, I mean, the first rental payment that he was paying as a renter, you know, there was him and a few friends, was what, $2,700 a month?
No, it was like $1,800.
$1,800?
Oh, wow.
A month.
And then, you know, at the same time, even me at the time, I'm thinking to myself, I'm not providing as a father because, you know, quite honestly, if he's paying $1,800 a month, that's a mortgage.
Right.
Perhaps he should be helping him to buy a house. Perhaps I should be helping him buy a house. If he's paying $1,800, that's a mortgage.
That is a mortgage.
Yeah,
you know,
like
but as
1,200 square foot.
and then also you've got the problem in Houston at the moment where if you want to buy a house in Houston, it is so difficult for somebody to buy a house because of the prices in Houston. So how can people get on the ladder? Like I've been saying this for, you know, since we've started this podcast, and that's in any city now. What have they got to do? They've got to go miles out, and the inventory's running out. Even our office in Lake Jackson in the week, I had a meeting with them on Tuesday. Was that yesterday? It was yesterday. It was yesterday. And they turned around and said, we're having a problem with inventory, and that's in a rural area. And I since I've owned that office in 2016, I've never ever heard them say that.
Right. Well, one thing is the builders can't keep up with the demand because you've got the 90 million millennials that are now in the market to buy homes. So there's just not enough inventory, period. And with people being in some of these forbearance programs that have been put out by mortgage companies.
Have I got a story about that?
Just kind of going. Those things have allowed people to stay in their homes where typically in a market like this, you know, people would be getting foreclosed on. Now, it's ending, so we still may see some of that would answer, and then some of the builders being able to catch up. But yeah, man, to your point, people are having to move further away from the city, and with gas prices going up, that's would make people consider, yeah, you know what, I'm just not going to buy right now. I'm going to wait, and waiting does nothing but make the situation worse.
Well, it is making the situation
Absolutely.
worse.
Making it worse.
And in a bit, we're going to go to the article with our Century 21 CEO. That he was saying different things, but the inventory is supposed to be easing up, but it's not. And the other part, we do property management. We manage over 600 units, and we've lost contractors. We've lost about 3 of our largest contractors that do work for us because it's getting harder for them to get employees to work to do the contracting. They can't keep up with the work, and they can't get the people. Right. So one of the contractors we use, he emailed us about 2 weeks ago and said, look, I've got too much business, I can't do the work, and I've lost people that have been working for me, and I don't want to take on new work, and work for you if I can't react to it. And I admire him for that.
Right.
So I can't see the price of houses coming down, even though the price of lumber's come down, even though
it's not. Once you get used to paying it, it's not going to come down. Like those baggage fees for the airport.
Right.
We still pay them. and they base it on fuel prices.
And then a big concern of mine is, and perhaps I think this more because, obviously my son's 23, Jack. And then, I've got a daughter as well that's just going through college, and I'm thinking, she's doing pretty well at college. I don't know even what degree she's doing, to be perfectly honest. I'm a horrible father. Is it finance or something? I don't know. But the truth of the matter is, and I'm thinking to myself, is there going to be anything for it at the end of the day? Yeah. Is there going to be an American dream for it at the end of the day?
It almost feels sad to think about it for them, because my son's not much younger than Jack. So,
and I still say, I think to a degree, the older generation have got to take part of that responsibility. Because my dream originally was, Jack's named after my grandfather, and who I knew very shortly because he died when I was 8 years old. But my dream was that when I was to pass on, that each of my kids would have $1 million. That if I was to pass, my kids would have $1 million each. And I've failed them completely, even now, I'll tell you. And I thought that would give them the start that they need. But to be perfectly honest, he's made more on Bitcoin than what my plan was. And I've owned a business for 22 years. Yeah. So, I respect him for that. And, he was saying that the first trade he done, he lost a bit of money, and he learned by losing. One of the things we said in skating was you've got to learn to lose before you learn to win.
Absolutely.
You've got to be able to take defeat before you can take success. But I'm sorry, in American society, one of the biggest problems I found with coaching was you get the winner, then you get the first loser, then you get the second loser, and you get the third loser. And to me, that's not a good approach. Because I would rather have a student finish second or third, because then they're all striving to be better. Because part of good coaching is motivational. And that's why I feel so strong about, somebody like Jack, who's 20 to 30 years old. I can understand why some of these 20 to 30-year-olds aren't motivated.
Right.
And it's not like they're not motivated. I mean, this is the main reason that the employment rate is so low right now. Or I don't know if it's not low per se because they mess with the numbers. But like employment rate has been so high because people know that there's no point in going to work at a Starbucks for $10 an hour. Like, what is that $10 an hour going to get me? Right. Unless I'm living at home with my parents, like I'm not going to be living a decent life. And so that's why everyone signs up for unemployment. Because you can make $1,400 a week on unemployment and you just sit at home, not doing anything.
Yeah, that's true.
And that's what all my friends do. And I'm not going to do that because I'd never sign up for unemployment because I would rather that money go to people who are actually unemployed.
Right.
But I have people who live in nicer houses than me. Their parents are definitely way off better than mine, and they're living at home and they're on unemployment, milking it. And I can't blame them. Like I really can't blame them because all the American system does is milk us out of our money.
True that.
Yeah.
I liken it to, and this is probably going to be a terrible example, but I got to say it anyways. We talked about the war on drugs and the Just Say No campaign that Nancy Reagan started. Well, you had these guys that were living a lifestyle that paid for their homes, their cars, their families, and now all of a sudden you just want them to say, just say no. Yeah. And it's like, you know what? I'm not doing the drugs. I'm just giving someone something that they want and they're paying me for it. So it's kind of hard to blame. You could say, oh, well, they're just sitting at home doing nothing. But man, it's allowed. They're not breaking any rules.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I don't know. It's just kind of one of those things. So, well, yeah.
It's sort of depressing in itself, really. But I'll still maintain, I think Jack's being a bit gracious about it. I really think the older people have let down a lot of our youngest, our younger kids coming up, because I think it's important to have dreams and aspirations. And as a coach, that's my coaching background coming through. And I think it's, to me, one of the beauties of life is to help people. And a good coach is somebody that helps people develop and improve their lives. So that's why I feel strongly, about what the younger generation have got.
Sure.
And I sort of feel a little bit, concerned about that. That's really, I've just got a short time left on the planet. I mean, it's as simple as that. But I just feel it's sad. I just think it's very, very sad. And part of coaching is one of the important things that they say about coaching is, when you're a coach and you teach people and you coach people, you actually learn more, because what you're doing is you're repeating that information all the time. So what you're actually doing is sort of confirming what you're doing. You can learn by actually coaching people and passing that information on, because you're learning by repetition. And then you'll think of better ways to even say it. So that was, one of the, and that's what I feel. But I just feel we let them down. Anyway, with that being said, I guess we'll sort of move on.
Yeah, we kind of took a left turn a little bit, but it was good discussion. Can we talk about the whale? Whatever you want, man.
Our crypto whale.
What number is it?
Janet Yellen.
Oh. Why not, man? Why not?
I want to talk about
She doesn't live in society anyways, so why not?
Do you know how much she makes for speaking at, do you know how much banks pay her for speaking at events?
$25.
How much?
I want to see if we can find it, because Jenet Yellen cost for speaking. I mean, I know the answer.
I know she's made like $7 million or something, they said, over the last few years. Yeah.
There's a chart. No chart. Need a chart.
Oh, there it is.
Million?
7.2 million in speaking fees from banks and large companies since leaving the Federal Reserve.
That is absolutely nuts.
And it's the answer is she's getting 100 to 200 racks per presentation.
Racks. 100,000.
1,000.
350,000 in consulting and speaking fees from Magellan Financial Group. In Australia. So
she's not corrupt.
No, she's totally good. She's fine.
Bring up the article, Jack, because I think this is absolutely not. U.S. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen suggests imposing a tax on unrealized capital gains
Come on.
How can it be a capital gain if it's not even, there's no
If
gain?
it's unrealized, right?
I think what's under consideration is a proposal that Senator Wyden and the Senate Finance Committee have been looking at that would
dude, you don't even know what planet
impose
you're on anymore.
a tax
she doesn't.
on
Just go
unrealized capital gains on liquid.
So if anyone that doesn't understand the gravity of this, she's basically saying that if you have stocks and you get, they go up.
Hold on,
right?
let's even make it simple. If you have any assets,
Well, assets, right? But I'm giving an example to be specific. So if you're looking at your portfolio and you got stocks and they go up, the gains are taxed as soon as they go up, even before they're sold. So here's my question to that. What if they go down, like, 2 months later or 6 months later? What happens?
it makes no sense whatsoever.
0 cents.
I mean, I'm a believer, although everybody's going to sort of comment on this, on paying your fair share of taxes. I think corporations should pay more taxes than they do. But this is just so much off the mark.
It's an overreach, man. You know what this is for me, quite frankly, and again, not to make it political. This is the death knell for Joe Biden in his campaign for not being reelected. He will be a one-term president for this reason alone. It's like,
Absolutely.
come on, man. What are you trying to do?
Absolutely. No, and I agree with you. It also means that the taxes will be owed when the value of a home appreciates, even though it has not been sold.
Real estate appreciates. What are they talking about, man? It's an ongoing tax. And do I pay that?
And the part that I'll give you an example, and this is just for me personally. Okay, I've owned a condo for 24 years, and I take appreciation on that because you can take depreciation,
right?
Over the condo for 27 years.
Right.
Now my 27 years is coming up. When my 27 years is up, have a guess what I'm going to do?
Blow it up.
What, sell it?
Blow it up.
With the insurance money.
That wasn't my plan, but basically I intend to sell it.
Sell it, right.
Right. So the idea is I'll buy another property, okay?
And do the same thing.
And then I can get my depreciation again. All right? And so that's just a strategy. It's like buying a stock.
It's not against the rules.
This is just absolutely nuts.
You know what concerns me most about this?
That it's stupid?
Well,
that's what concerns me about this.
Stupid. But the over 65 person, right? That's on the fixed income. Okay, so they're on a fixed income. They're not exempt from paying taxes, or they may even be on their pension. But so, are you going to tax them because their house has appreciated more? So now they got to pay taxes on those gains? That's crazy.
Well, I'm sorry for using the word stupid. I feel that's a little bit of an overreach. I shouldn't be using that word.
No, but what it is look at what I have here. So this is really what it is. And for those of you who don't know, this is a psychology terminology, the foot in the door technique. And just so I'll read it out loud. What happens is you have your first point of contact. That's something small, minuscule, that doesn't really affect you, right? So, for example, they have here, will you help me go to the shop for cake ingredients? And then she says, sure. And then after you already agree, your foot is in the door, so you ask them a bigger question.
Right.
And at that point, it's, will you help me make the whole cake? So right now, what you're seeing is that they're working their way into finding a way to tax these things, I think.
Before you know, they'll be taxing death benefits and everything.
Yeah,
well, the thing
so
that
it's coming. Like, they're going to have a lot more.
the thing that really worries me is, like I told you, the way that you hopefully get to a financial independence is to get different income streams.
Right.
I think what's under
So as the market changes, you've got some sort of coverage. So if you lose on one, like you said, if there's a problem with, say, the real estate market, and then come down, at least you've got other income streams.
Absolutely.
And you're covered. I mean, I'm a big believer in getting different income streams. That's why I, got into Forex, and I'm trying to understand Bitcoin, to get everything done that and understand that about, the trading part. I mean, this just makes no sense at all.
Yeah, I don't get it.
And I do believe this could be the nail in the coffin, for Joe Biden.
Oh yeah, I definitely do think it is. I definitely think it is.
So, the Senate Finance Committee have been looking at that would impose a tax on unrealized capital gains on liquid assets held by extremely wealthy individuals, billionaires. I wouldn't call that a wealth tax,
extremely wealthy and billionaires. So you can say, "Oh, they're not talking about me."
While she's also talking about us reporting our $600 payments to the IRS.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, I'm not falling for that banana
gains,
tailpipe.
which are an extraordinarily large part of the incomes of the wealthiest individuals.
And if it is billionaires, if it's people that own billions, and because there are a lot of billionaires that want to hide their, wealth, and they've got strategies to put it into different things. But I mean, there's somebody like me, it could be a killer. It's got, and I'm lucky enough to have maybe 5 houses now, or 5 residences, and or 4 houses and one's a condo. But let's go back to Bitcoin again. Let's talk about Mastercard set to announce a plan to allow all merchants to accept Bitcoin and other Bitcoin rewards.
I saw that. That's a big move for Mastercard because they're one of the major credit cards. I'm actually got my black card through Mastercard, so it's they're gonna allow a bunch of money to get moved. They're planning to allow any bank or merchant on this vast network to accept Bitcoin. So if someone wants to start accepting Bitcoin, basically Mastercard is honoring the Bitcoin value. That's huge.
Your move, banks.
What were you saying about corporations, Jack?
Yeah. I think banks are honestly, I forgot who said it, but somebody said, I think it was JP Morgan or someone said, like, banks are the first step to destroying society. It probably wasn't JP Morgan, but it was like a big person. Like
really?
That. Yeah, we'll find it right now.
Well, most of the big guys, they don't really, banks are for transactions. That's really it. They don't keep all their money in your regular banks that we have. So there's millions of merchants that use Mastercard. So this is huge. This is huge for anyone that even wants to get into Bitcoin or just crypto in general. Might be a little too rich for your blood. I think it's at 59,000 today, but buy a little bit. Couple $100, little by little. So it's big though.
Yeah, I mean they're doing it in El Salvador and stuff. I wish they did it over here. It'd be cool to go buy a coffee with some Satoshis or something. It'd be pretty cool.
I can use some of my Shiba.
Yeah. Actually, Mark Zuckerberg, Cuban, is allowing people to buy Dallas Mavericks tickets with Dogecoin.
Really?
Yeah. You can do it right now. So
there you go.
Yeah.
How do they work out the rate? I mean, they just work it out whatever it is at the time.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's the only way you can do it.
Yeah.
So does it give you like the rate for the day, like the starting day, or actually when you buy the ticket?
At that time.
At that time, whatever it is at that time.
So what should you do? Should you wait in line and there's people behind you and say, okay, you go through for the time being?
You could, but it might get worse.
I mean, it's not going to cost you any different, right? $20 is still $20.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
It's just converting into our money.
Yeah. So $20 when something is worth $1 versus $20 when something is worth $20, it's still $20 worth.
Right.
So you get your phone and say, hey, would you like to go? I think it's going up at the moment, so you go through.
I don't have to lose as many Dogecoin if I let you go in front of me. Yeah. That could be a tactic that you use. I don't know if you'll get in to see the rest of the game by that time, but whatever.
Can we get on to the Century 21 CEO? And then can we get on to the comments, Jack? Because I think that was pretty interesting. I have a comment on that particular article.
Did I not put it in here?
Yeah, you did.
Or the C21? I don't see it.
Yeah, it's there.
What number?
It's just above my neighbor.
What number?
No, I'm on the PDF. You're looking in the.
Oh yeah, I'm looking at.
You're looking in the Discord.
Yeah. I meant to put it on there though.
Yeah. I listened to most of that video he was talking about, Mike, and I hate her voice, by the way.
So
Yeah,
let me.
Oh my goodness.
So let me just introduce this. I don't know if Jack wants to introduce it, but basically, this is the Century 21 CEO. He's actually a real good guy. He's been with Century 21 for what, I don't know, years. He's a lot better than some of the other CEOs that we've had with Century 21. As you can see, the Century 21 Olympian. And we've been with Century 21 now for over 10 years. And he warns of a problem for upcoming generations, which I'm not saying I told you so. Can you play that just for a little bit, Jack? As long as we can get away with it, I guess.
Housing starts. The state of the housing market will be in focus this week. Joining me right now is the president and CEO of Century 21 Real Estate, Mike Miedler. Mike, it's great to have you this morning. Thanks so much. I want to start off with assessing the market for us. Where are we in terms of commercial and residential real estate from your standpoint? And I recognize it differs across the country, but what can you tell us?
Yeah, good morning, Marie. Thanks for having me. Well, I mean, people continue to rethink what they want out of their home and keep pouring into the residential real estate space. I mean, just last week, contract signings were up 4.2% compared to the previous 4 weeks. You also have median price up 12% plus from the previous 4 weeks. The good news is that inventory is headed in the right direction, right? We can't get enough inventory in the space right now, and that was up 1.5%. So, folks continue to come in, whether it's their, personal home or an investment property, a second home. Real estate continues to be a place where people are putting their money and their investments.
Pause it real quick.
Where are
it was interesting to see as he was talking and they were showing all the builder track homes, and not to say that there couldn't be a partnership with some builders, but typically you're dealing with real estate companies, they're dealing in resale. And then right after that, they come in and they start showing Compass Realty and the home meeting. Mm-hmm. Why no Century 21 signs?
There was one there at the end.
Was there one at the end?
Yeah. That's one of the new Century 21 signs.
These other ones, I mean, they're hating on this man. Okay, go ahead.
Strongest areas of real estate in the country right now?
I mean, I think it's really across the board. If you look in August, the South literally held about 46 or 48% of the deal. So you see this kind of trend, Maria, where folks are moving to obviously better tax destinations and better weather destinations, for whether that's, this work from home phenomenon where they can work from anywhere and want, just better weather and better tax, or whether they're moving there because they want a second home or a larger piece of property. You see a lot of folks heading to the South from even right here in the Northeast where I live.
He says the South. He never really comes out and says which state, but he definitely says moving south.
Is there any reason to believe that this is bubble territory and that we could see things burst sooner rather than later? What's your take on pricing and whether or not we're going to continue seeing pricing move higher?
Yeah, Maria, I mean, you've literally had the median price in this country move higher for 114 straight months in a row. So, I don't know if we can actually sustain that. I don't think it's actually a good thing. I think prices have to level off, but that's only going to happen with a little bit more inventory. The big kind of problem that I see is when you look at where we are from a country standpoint, literally the macroeconomics in this whole thing is that you've got 90 million millennials, the largest generation in U.S. history, storming the marketplace and really looking for that, dream of home ownership, to start building wealth through owning their own property. Behind that, you have Gen Z, who's the next largest generation coming up right behind them. And they're all looking for this piece of the American dream. On top of that, you've got, big issues with what we've been building over the last decade, right? So you've got literally the slowest pace of building since like 1995. We've underbuilt for a decade. In fact, I think the statistic is through 2012 to 2021, there were 12 million new household formations, but we only built 7 million homes. So we would literally have to double the pace of our development in order to keep, the supply that we need for these big generations coming into the market.
Wow. Well, I mean, big generations, but then again, you're talking about millennials, Gen Zs. I mean, they haven't been working for all that long. Do they have the money to pay up for some of these homes?
That's exactly what we was talking about, was we not?
there's that question. And also there's a report out this morning, Mike, that Zillow is going to stop buying homes directly for the rest of the year. It purchased nearly 4,000 homes in the second quarter. They say they're stopping because of the backlog. Your
She's
thoughts?
educated. She's got a highlighter.
Yeah, so a couple of things there. From the millennial front, they really actually won't hit the median age for the first-time home buyer for another 4 years. So they are paying down debt, but there's been tremendous savings, right, in that category as well. And think about this. I mean, we're at a place where interest rates are putting affordability in people's pockets. In fact, folks don't recognize that. Even with the prices where they are today, they're still more affordable than they were literally in the last decade, from 2000 to 2009.
Is that not what you've said, James?
As a percentage of median household income. So prices are affordable. It's just really getting the inventory that these millennials and Gen Zers want and need in order to get into. And a lot of them are moving out of,
I told you what my first house was, didn't I?
Oh, yeah.
18.1%, I think it was.
And you took it and you liked it.
I took it and liked it, and I still made money on it.
That's it.
Core centers.
Cash flow was a problem.
We used to see New York City, Boston, LA usually being the hub of where millennials were flooding because that's where the jobs were. This work from home phenomenon, they can really go anywhere. So it's interesting, and they definitely want that piece of the American dream. On top of that, on the Zillow comment, it is interesting because I think that, they talk about buying online, and really folks don't recognize there's 180 steps from the time that you actually make an offer when you see a property online till when you close. And that's why I think you always have to have a real estate expert, a real estate professional who knows the market inside and out and will help you navigate that process.
Even people don't understand. They think they can do it themselves and they're paying more for the property.
They do. They absolutely do.
Get yourself a good real estate agent with Century 21, whoever. I mean, you just better off. You're just better off.
You can't do it.
It's like going to the doctor and saying, well, you need an operation. Okay, well, give me a knife. I'll get that from the kitchen.
I'll do it myself.
And I'll just do it myself, and I'm sure I can work out where my liver is.
Not going to happen. You won't be successful with it at all.
Can you go down to the comments on that, Jack? Because I thought one of the comments was pretty funny.
What was that on the video?
On Mike Miedler's video.
Well, welcome.
What was it? The one that we looked at earlier on? The real estate industry has to be more transparent. Real estate agents are dirty. Not all of them, however. That's the view. And I agree that there's some terrible real estate agents out there. But the truth of the matter is there's some horrible doctors out there.
Absolutely. There's horrible people in every industry.
But
what I have hoped, even with loan officers, is that this type of environment will cut away some of those that are just dabbling. Because quite frankly, this is the kind of one, when the smoke clears, it'll be, the strong will survive. Yeah. Because it's not been easy.
Well, the biggest thing I can say to a lot of buyers for a house and sellers for a house is two things. Never use a part-time real estate agent, and never, ever, ever use a family member.
Oh.
Because a lot of the problems that I've seen in the past have always been either one of them two things. There was another comment in there. Here it is. That one by Constant58. Asking a real estate broker if it's a good time to buy a home is like asking an alcoholic if it's a good time to drink a beer. But the part that I find interesting about that obviously they do not understand is, if this is a low market, in other words, if this is a declining market, then who buys houses? Investors.
Investors get in, yeah.
When we had the foreclosure, I've got one very good friend who was a client of mine. He's still a friend of mine. I think he bought 42 houses.
During the down market?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now he's king of the hill. And when the market's at the top, then interest rates are lower, and it's even getting worse. And what did we say the previous podcast? We said that it's predicted that home prices are going to go up 16%.
Yeah.
By the end of next year. So to me, it's still a good it's still a good deal.
So do you guys think it's good that you have investors coming in and buying 40 houses?
No,
not at all.
no, I don't.
No.
But that's part of the problem because it's reducing the inventory that people are coming in. But on a low market, I think part of the problem at the moment is people are anticipating a bubble. So they're holding off. It's a bit like Bitcoin, like Jack Wood said earlier on. Well, Bitcoin's at 62, 66, whatever it is, and I'm going to hold off.
Right.
And that price is going to come down, and I'm going to wait until it's 50. It can't continue to go up. And what happens? The longer you hold off, not always, but
it can get worse. It can definitely
Bitcoin,
get worse.
I think Bitcoin to me is more volatile than the housing market. But the gains that you make with Bitcoin, I think if you get it at the right time, are obviously more than it would be with a house.
So I think this is for Bitcoin. Well, I don't even know if it's for Bitcoin. It looks like it's just for markets.
It's a market cycle, right?
And I think it's impossible for the housing market to not crash, in my opinion. Now, it might not be because of mortgages, but there's just no way that it makes any sense that over the last 2 years, when our economy has done the worst it ever has, that home prices are at an all-time high and they're getting eaten up. And it's because it's an inflation, it's an artificially inflated market.
Absolutely.
And so it's impossible for the market to retrace, in my opinion. Now, why will it happen and when will it happen? I don't know, but it has to retrace at some point. And I personally believe in this stage, we're in the belief stage right now. So I think there's still a thrill and a euphoria stage before we start to recognize in the housing market what it unfolds. Oh, I haven't showed this on the screen. My apologies.
But what I really think is the government, after the last experience that we had in 2008, I don't think the government, regardless who you've got in place, will ever want that to happen again. And I think they will.
Well, no one wanted it to happen.
They will prop up the market.
Well, here's the problem. It prompted up so much, giving people money on these stimulus checks.
Money is cheap at the moment.
These stimulus checks and giving extra
can I give you an example
and everything? I don't know that there's going to be enough because they were bailing out all these companies. I don't think they can do that anymore.
Yeah, you can.
Can I give you an example? Exactly what you said, which happened to us recently.
What?
There was a charitable organisation that gave one of our tenants that we manage the money to pay, because of COVID, to pay 11 months of rent. And that money, when it was dispersed, so the landlord waited for 11 months for their money. And then the check was sent to the tenant. And when the money was received, all right, they only paid 7 months of it. And they kept the rest of the money.
Wow.
And, evictions are taking so long at the moment. Now, to me, that's fraud. And we called up the organisation, and the organisation said, nothing we can do about it. And in the meantime, the landlord's been stiffed. And that is just it. To me, that is the direct definition of insanity. So the landlord is the one that's waiting all this time for the money. They have to take off the late fees to even apply for the program.
And then
it's helping the tenant
out
out.
All of the money that they were owed.
And then the money is sent to the tenant. Makes no sense whatsoever.
That's unfortunate.
It's not unfortunate. It's utterly ridiculous and fraud.
It is definitely unfortunate.
Well, there's no way that the market doesn't retrace, in my opinion.
Well,
I think it'll level up. I don't think it's going to crash.
I'm just not sure that it'll crash like it did back.
I don't think
because it was so. To your point, it was so artificially inflated then for other reasons. That's why it ended up.
Well, the problem was
so
because
bad.
the appraisers and everybody was in cahoots.
Exactly. They propped it up artificially, and now
I mean, on a property, you could get what 110% loan, 125%,
125
just for
Yeah.
buying the house.
It was stupid. It was the products were stupid. Everything. At least now you got
With the Quality Mortgage Act, I mean, I think it's upset different people because it's a lot more hoops to
Well, you
jump
just got to
through.
qualify for it. But
I think there's a better quality product going out there.
now it's just a matter of you've got comparables to support the values. It's just that they're too high.
Do you
So I
think the
it'll
market
float
will
off.
crash?
I don't think it'll crash. I think it's going to level off.
That's exactly what I think.
It's definitely going to level off because there's no way.
I don't think it's going to crash at all.
Yeah, at Mike's point, it can't continue like it is.
Right.
So, people just got to wise up.
I think
we brought I think we've kind of created the problem as
course
well.
we have.
Because we've allowed it to happen. So,
I'll go back to the point that I made earlier on. I think it's a disappointment to the 20 to 30-year-olds and 30 to 40-year-olds that, they're not in a position where they can buy a house.
Yeah, unfortunately.
No, I mean, people my age are buying houses, but their parents are of a specific race and usually are in the six-figure income area in a nice
Yeah, but, I mean, I just think it's a disappointment. To me, it's a disappointment as a parent and hopefully a human being and breathing that, I believe everybody should work for what they want. And I don't think we need to be arrogant and all that stuff. And, there's a word I'm looking for and I can't find it, but it's like, I don't think that I should just take things for granted. I think there is a means of working for things, whether you work with your head
right.
or you work physically. A lot of it is application on how successful you are and how hard working you are, regardless it's been mentally or physically. But I just think it would be a much better society for everybody if people were in a position where, not just because I'm not saying this just I'm a real estate broker, but I believe, I'd like to still believe in the American dream. And there's some people that I know that own ridiculous amounts of houses. And they came from very minimal upbringings, to be perfectly honest, but
that's where we are.
But a lot of that, they're in that position primarily because of the crash. They just happened to have the cash at the time, or the owner that I told you about that had 42 houses even came to me and said at that time, well, the maximum amount of loans I can have is 10.
Yeah.
I need more loans so I can buy more properties. So that, the chances are he could have bought more.
True.
Yeah,
that's true.
All right, Jack, can we get into when you buy a house, you can't pick you can basically buy a house, but you can't pick your neighbors? Can we pull that up on the screen?
So what do I pull up? Because that's not on the...
Yeah, that's not on the list. That's in the Discord. But
Yeah.
we can show it.
What do you want me to
That's
pull up?
kind of your deal. You want the picture?
Yeah.
The picture's in the Discord. Oh, man.
All right, James. That's in your neighborhood. How would you feel as the next door neighbor to that?
I don't know, man. That's kind of weird to me. I'm not quite sure I'm cool with that statue. Looks like a little kid.
Is it a religious thing, or do you think?
Not my religion.
Because I spoke to a pastor yesterday, and he says, no, that's not religious. So at least I know now it's not religious.
I've never seen
And
it.
he said it's art.
It's odd.
Art. Art.
Yeah, I don't.
And he said it's only art if there's water coming out of the thing.
Yeah, out the PP. Yeah, I don't know.
I just, it's just strange to me.
It's very strange. It's very strange.
And the house that I took this photo at, he has a few of these.
Well,
He just doesn't have one.
We live in a society now where everything seems to be so over sexualized.
But he's not putting that in his yard because do you think He's not putting that in his yard.
I don't know why he's putting it in his yard, but I'm just saying that looks like a child to me. So I don't know. It doesn't look like a good look.
And at the same time, he's allowed his freedoms.
He is. He absolutely is.
It'd be interesting if he was in a neighborhood that had a HOA, whether they would say anything about that, because HOAs, now don't have the control.
And it's just sitting in the middle of the sidewalk like that?
No. It's in his yard, and then next to his yard, he's got a table and 2 chairs, which I find real odd. And he's got more of these. He hasn't just got the one. He's got a number of them.
Yeah.
So, I just think it's funny how, you can buy a house, but you can never pick your neighbors.
You cannot pick your neighbors.
Yeah.
It's their choice.
So...
I mean, we're their neighbors, so they have to put up with that.
Yeah, it's in my neighborhood. Okay, go on, give the game away. And then have you got number 2, Jack? Can you bring number 2 up? I personally think this is actually quite funny. I wonder what he thinks of his neighbor.
That is kind of funny. Yeah. But who knows why they did that? They probably don't get along well.
Yeah, I guess they don't get on too well.
Do they not have anything better to do?
They must not.
Now,
that's a tiny fence, though. I will say that. That's a tiny little fence. Our fences are a lot taller.
I guess there's a bit of a problem between them. And can you go to number 3, Jack? We'll just cover this quickly and then we'll move on. And then I've got a question for James. All right, this particular owner, now, do you think he's going to sell his house?
Nope, he's getting under his neighbor's skin.
That's all he's put that up, isn't it?
That's all he's doing. Has no intentions of selling. But he's what we call a troll. He's trolling his neighbor with his sign. So it's unfortunate that if you don't get along.
Honestly, you're moving into an area. And you might be a house down the street, 5 houses down the street, 6 houses down the street. What would you honestly think seeing that?
Yeah.
I mean, it just doesn't give a good reflection of the neighborhood.
It's like, what's going on with these guys? Why can't they get along? Why can't they get along?
Oh, dear.
Ooh, speaking of getting along, man, I know we're not going to cover everything on here, but there's a couple of things I did want to mention. Number 9, Jack, this lady that has 21 babies.
Oh.
Not just 21 children, 21 babies. I mean, I think they're all ranging from, 2 months to
Is she a
12
machine?
months. Well, she didn't have them out of her womb. They hired surrogates to have these babies, and she has 16 live-in nannies. I don't understand this. It's like she's collecting children.
I don't understand it.
Now the girl is 24 years old, Steve. She married some billionaire guy. I think he's a millionaire. Who's 57 years old, and she just got these babies, and
why not adopt kids? If that's the case, why not adopt? You know what I mean?
I'm not against adopting, but do you adopt 21 at the same time? What are you trying to do?
I don't know what the motivation is to even get into that situation.
They say they spend $96,000 a year on nannies. 16.
Well, at least it's employing somebody.
Nannies.
But
they've employed somebody. And I think they both had 1 child each. So there's 23 kids living under one roof.
That's going to be interesting to have a family reunion in the future.
Yeah. And having all these babies in there. I mean, I can tell you, she's never pretty girl. She's, but 24 years old. It's like she's collecting babies. That's what it looks like.
That is just, I just think it just doesn't make sense to me.
I don't get it.
But I've never been smart. But I mean, at the same time, that just does not make any sense to me.
It's quite odd. But that's for people that, you got money, you don't know what to do with it. So let's just get a whole bunch of babies and just live our lives that way. I mean, kudos for the children. She's taking care of them. She can afford it, great, but that was just kind of
Has she had anything
to me? Well, she only has one kid out of her body. But yeah,
So
the rest of these.
So how are the others going to feel later on?
The ones that she had, or yeah, I don't know. They got a lot of siblings. I will say that. Got a lot of siblings to connect with.
They paid $195,500 to surrogates.
Yeah, but she married a rich man. So he's trying to keep his wife happy. And there we are.
There's other ways how I suggest that he tries to keep his wife happy, but it's nothing to do with having 21 kids.
Well, speaking of my wife being happy, there's a princess, Mako, in Japan, who married just a regular Joe Schmo.
A commoner.
Married a regular guy and walked away from her, I guess kind of much like, Harry? Edward? What's his name? They married Meghan Markle.
Love is strong.
Yeah, she fell in love with this guy and basically decided she was going to choose love over anything else. And this guy is
People don't really understand though. When you got that royal life, it's not all that it's made out to be. It really isn't.
It's not as glamorous as it's painted.
You can't go to the supermarket and walk around to get your Wrigley's. I mean, that's just not.
Yeah, so she let go of her royal status, and I think they say they're going to be moving to New York, which they probably could have found somewhere cheaper to live.
Well, but they're probably not known too well in New York. That's more to do with it, I think, and I'm sure they're not.
Oh, yeah, that's probably right.
Few of a couple of pennies.
Yeah, they'll move together to New York and start a new life, and she hopes that the people in America will welcome them. I say, hey, everybody else is coming to America. Why not, right?
Absolutely. Come to America and live your American dream.
Yeah, face the racism head on.
Man, Jack, you brought us back to reality, right?
Yeah, absolutely. That's definitely the thing.
That's what you deal with, man. That is what they're dealing
21
with.
kids, though, that's just...
Yeah.
Can we go to the other thing I think that we should talk about? Texas governor.
Oh, number 10?
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
Well, I'll be honest with you. You know my original reaction, but after what Jack said, I think he's right.
What was that?
Which was, does it really matter?
Does it matter?
If you have X on your passport.
Oh, well, I think that's different. So Governor Abbott, he signed into the law or whatever, the executive order, to ban transgender women from competing in female sports, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what he said. So I don't see a problem with this.
If I was still competing today, I would totally agree with you. Because it's not to do with it's to do with the hormones.
You know, hormones don't affect you or muscle development. You guys know that?
Well,
but it perfects your performance.
Well, here's the thing for me. It's not even about hormones for me. Having some of these guys, let's say you live your life for 17 years as a young man, and you do what young men do. You're ultimately, as a male, you're going to be stronger than a female. Period. And I think that gives an unfair advantage if now you want to be or compete against the females.
So in that case, then what about the people who were born males at the age of 2 and then flipped female at the age of 2 and then grew up? Because now they can't participate as a female in that sport, right?
Well, the how often does that happen? Because I don't even know
that
any
happens more
circumstances.
frequently than the what you're talking about. And also, do you know how many D1 or I don't know if it's D1 specifically or just college grants that have been given out to trans athletes? You know
I'm sure there's been none.
0.
Because it's not a, I don't know.
Because it doesn't matter. It doesn't change anything.
Well, I don't think that it doesn't change anything. You take a group of men, a group of women. So you're telling me that men aren't stronger naturally?
They are, but I'm saying those types of people that you're talking about you can see when they're in the sport. You know what I mean? When he writes laws like this, I don't think it's affecting those people you're talking about who are like obviously like me and then just go start playing women's sports. Those people, this is affecting like people like I'm talking about who from the age of 2 they come out, they're actually transgender, where like it might be a dude born with like a pair of breasts.
Right. Okay.
And so then they have to either choose, which one do you want to play? So I mean, regardless of all this, like, does this dude not have other better things to be worrying about?
Of course.
I agree with that he just said. I mean, there's more important things to worry about.
I don't disagree with that at all. But I don't have a problem. I know for one, the girl from Russia, whoever it was, that was doing the weightlifting competition, and she was going against naturally born women, but she was born a man.
Well,
I don't know.
Let me just throw something at this, which is a little bit of a sidestep, but at the same time, it sort of comes into it. In the 80s, when, we was competing, the Russians would delay
the menstrual cycles.
The
small ones, yeah.
Right, to keep the girls small, so their power to weight ratio was actually higher than when they go and start putting boobies on and everything else.
Right.
And that's why the pair skaters at that time, the guys were like, huge guys, strong guys, and
the girls
especially the pairs. I mean,
right.
And these girls were getting thrown all over the place and, nearly into the audience. And that in itself, I mean, was, something he was doing. I mean, some of them girls didn't start menstruating 19 years old, 21 years. So that was happening then to a certain degree, but I'll be honest with you, I don't really know and understand enough about, the whole transgender thing. But the problem is there's so many angles that come into it.
There are, and I too, and
I think a lot of people, perhaps, I mean, there were some things that Jack just said that I didn't even realize, to be perfectly honest.
Well, yeah, that's kind of why I don't like to talk about transgender things myself personally, because I don't understand a lot of it. There's a lot of information that I don't know, so I don't want to say stuff. Like, for example, that athlete thing I just said, that was told to me. I've never fact-checked it, but it was told to me from like a source that I trust a lot. Now, he could be wrong, right?
Right.
But
I haven't heard of no trans athletes.
And exactly, and I've never heard of it either. So that's
it'd be interesting. Does anybody on the channel has any comments on that? That'd be interesting to sort of.
Yeah.
But like I guess a different perspective I want to take to this is I actually think that like the NBA should allow women in. Like say there's a girl who can cross up LeBron James. Why shouldn't she be allowed in the NBA?
Because it's a men's league.
But like why is it only men? Like I'm saying it should be, if it's the best league, it should be the best league for everybody. Now, women shouldn't get an easy get in just to get in there, right? But if it really is the best basketball league, I don't see a problem with women going in there and dunking on some dudes.
Do you think there's a woman that can compete now on Earth with LeBron James?
I mean, LeBron, but that's like taking LeBron James now. If you say like Jimmy Butler or someone,
or Alex Caruso.
Yeah, I mean, even then, like I'm sure there's someone out there who can put some points up on them.
Well,
just one woman.
I'm not saying that they can't.
Yeah.
I feel like a men's league should be a men's league. That's my stance in it. I know there are women that are good.
That's how I feel.
But quite frankly, I don't think they belong in the men's league. It's just not fair.
And a lot depends on the sport as well. I mean, how would it be having heavyweight boxing champion of the world
against a woman?
Mike Tyson against Muhammad Ali's daughter.
Well, putting her head down.
Right, but if the woman thinks she can take him on, then
he should pound her head.
If a girl tells me, "Hey, I can beat your ass," and I'm like, "No, I don't think you can," and then she's like, "Let's fight." Like, you're consenting to me fighting. I'm not.
Yeah, but I wouldn't feel good about it.
So
I wouldn't.
I don't disagree with you because, quite frankly, I'm not of the mindset. Well, there's always you don't beat up a woman just going out and pick up a woman, right?
Woman.
But if a woman puts herself in a position to fight a man, then she's subject to whatever comes to her. Prime example. Now listen, Fallon Fox. Okay, Fallon Fox is a transgender woman that was a UFC fighter. She got in the ring and fought women. There was one fight. It was a black lady. I can't remember her name, but this Fallon Fox beat the entire brakes off of this woman, and it was obvious. They didn't stop the fight. They didn't call it at all. But the lady, she kind of hung in there as long as she could, but it was obvious that she was more aggressive. She was going in as, a fighter, and boom. Now, everybody knew that she was transgender, that she used to be a man, or was born a man, shall I say, and transitioned. But it was just, to your point, it was like, it was hard to watch, knowing that she's stronger than her naturally, and she's pounding this lady's head in, and it was like, man, that's not.
To me, that's not sport.
It isn't. It isn't. But again,
but saying that, I've never really been into the boxing thing, so
got you.
That sort of, perhaps that's not fair for me to.
Well, I mean, you can have an opinion about it, but it's just, I didn't think it was.
But to me, it's not sport.
I didn't think it was fair to watch her fight this woman. And a lot of people had a big issue with it too. They say, hey, you shouldn't be in the ring fighting, a natural born woman, blah blah blah, so on and so forth.
Yeah. But to go back to the point, like the reality of it is, not very many women would make it to the NBA because obviously all those dudes would outperform them.
Right.
But I'm saying there has to be at least one girl out there who I think could make it in the NBA and be, I don't even know if I'd say starting. I would say starting just to be hopeful.
Controversial, right?
Yeah, who could start in the NBA on some team?
I don't think there's one woman on earth that can start in the NBA. You heard it here.
Hey, yeah.
That's my stance. So
whoever you are listening, you got to shut James up now.
Shut me up. Shut me up. Come on out here and play.
You got to duck on LeBron for us.
No, I've got sort of mixed feelings at it, but I don't think that's. When he gets to that level with, the female boxer, I think it's a little
much.
I mean, that woman who fought her accepted the fight,
she
accepted
did.
The contract. So it's not like she just showed up and it's like, oh, it's a trans dude.
Now, funny thing is, if you look on the Fallon's record, she did lose one fight by a knockout. So a woman knocked her out. I don't know who it was, but a woman did beat Fallon Fox. So. And it was by knockout, not by submission or anything. It was just straight catch these hands, beat down. So it is what it is.
Yeah, and I guess it's important to know here too. She recalls it says struggling with her gender as early as 5 or 6. It doesn't say when she.
I think she transitioned like 19, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
Do you think that proves your point though, with what you just said with this lady?
What point? What do you mean?
In relation to perhaps it shouldn't be happening. It's sort of an unfair advantage.
I think it is an unfair advantage. Yeah, I do think it's an unfair advantage. Speaking of unfair advantage, we got to get this last piece in about your boy.
My boy.
Your boy. They found his skeleton.
Oh yeah. People love this one. We have to talk about that.
Yeah, he. So of course we talked a couple times back about what her name, Gabby Petito, and the search for her, and Brian Laundrie, of course, being the one that's allegedly killed her. We don't know for sure if he did or not, but it's out there. But he's been on the run,
and the FBI should know that by now.
Yeah,
I mean they should.
But now they're saying they found his remains. Conveniently, after I think the parents were supposed to get into a park area.
The parents went with them for the first time in a month. Yeah,
they went and I want to say that what they said was they were going into this area and they were supposed to be accompanied to this area, and they just said, oh, well, the news crew is going to be with them. And they went and found these bones all of a sudden, and they're supposedly Brian Laundrie's because
now, you use the word supposedly. So do you think they are, or do you think...
I do not think this man is dead.
Yeah, I don't either.
He's with Tupac and Biggie.
I'm just kidding.
No, I don't think... honestly, I don't think it's him. That's my story. I'm sticking to it.
The FBI, done the DNA testing and everything.
Well, they did by dental records, but it was so fast. It was like yesterday they found the bones. Today, oh, yep, it's him. Dental records show that it's him. Usually this stuff takes a while to come back, and now I just think they're tired of looking for the dude.
So what do they do? Take his teeth out and put them in somebody else's body?
If it was going to keep me out of prison, you could have my whole entire oral cavity. So
I'm glad you said your cavity, because I don't want nothing else.
I don't know if it's impossible to remove your teeth or that, but his mom may have had some teeth at home of his. Who knows? Because it's remains. No one said it was a jawbone or anything like that. So who knows?
And they haven't revealed how they found him either.
At all.
They just said they literally just found remains. That's all.
Remains found alongside some other personal item, his backpack and his notebook.
Yeah.
It's like, really?
But do you think that's a little bit like, the conspiracies that we've got in the country?
I'm conspiring on this 100%. This
Yes.
is 100% a conspiracy that I think
It is a conspiracy.
They're just saying it to sort of get out of the problem for the time being.
Well, the deal is this little area that had never been open to the public, they just decided they're going to go and, when now it's open, we're just going to go and look for ourselves. And all of a sudden, all of his stuff was found. It's like, come on, man. What are the, I don't know. What are the odds?
And like if this was a black couple, this would have all stopped at the police stop back in Utah when the dude when he hit her.
I agree with that. If this was an Hispanic, it'd be the same thing. I mean,
this is
that in its sad is.
They're saying they found all of this stuff. I don't believe it. I don't believe it one bit that it's him. So we'll never know, of course, but that's what they've said is the case, and that's what they pushed out to the media. And the media, they don't care about being right. They just want to be first. So that's where we are.
I wonder if they'll be buried together.
Well, they haven't.
I wouldn't have thought so.
I don't know. I don't know. Who knows?
Can you imagine that funeral with two families?
Well, the fact that the parents will kind of stop communication with the other family.
It could be a bit of a problem.
Yeah, I would doubt that they do that together. Because if I'm trying to get information on my kid and you're ignoring me, there'd be some problems.
I'm trying to make you laugh, but there again,
from you is you're asking me to book a funeral together.
Exactly. Yeah, we're gonna book your funeral, fool.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah, that would be a problem.
Yeah, we're gonna organize your funeral next year.
Hey, Jack, let's get on to number 12 with college enrollment. Yeah. That just does nothing but back us what I said about college.
Well, it's down. We do know that. Surprise, surprise.
So
are you surprised?
Absolutely not.
I'm not surprised.
I've never believed that, going to college is any guarantee of having a
well, it's not a guarantee of anything. But even now where we live, if it's not STEM of some sort, I mean, really.
I've spoken to a lot of, I don't know if I told you, but when I worked at the National Library of Wales, I spoke to, he was pretty high up in, he was like head of the UK for Cadbury's confectionery, whatever. I know they was taken over by an American firm, Nestle. I think they was taken over.
Okay.
It wasn't him I spoke to, but at the time they hadn't been taken over. And I spoke to the big guy, the big cheese at Cadbury's, which is a Birmingham company where I was originally from, because that's how we got into the conversation. And I asked him, I says, why do you take on, college people who, just as your salespeople? Because going to college has nothing to do with sales. And he said, but we know that if we take college people on who, have gone to university, that they can stick the course. And I'm walking away thinking, really? And so it's sort of interesting that, I've never been a believer in going to college is necessarily going, increase your success rates in ever what you do.
Right. But they're blaming it on COVID. Do you think it's
no, I don't think it's anything to do with COVID.
No, it's definitely COVID, not the fact that you start your later adult life with a negative net worth of like $40,000 or
I will actually a negative.
Exactly.
And I think, when I went to college, when I went to university, we call it university in England, but It was free. But I pulled out because I was, working for Olympics. And I'll be honest with you, I could not take the pressure of going to uni and at the same time, training for, I just couldn't do it. So my idea was, well, you know what, I'll move away. And, so I sort of did part of the classes, which in all fairness helped me, the ones that I did, but I never graduated. And then I did Olympics and I was offered a job on management at an ice rink. I thought, I'll just take that. And I could teach as well and made myself a decent living. But, the truth of the matter is you can be the most educated person in the world. And if you don't know how to apply that knowledge,
doesn't matter.
It's a waste of time getting it.
But you look at the cost of it, though, man. It's ridiculous.
Over here, it's worse than what it is in Europe.
It's ridiculous how much it costs to do it.
I was speaking about 4 years ago. I went to my urologist, and I said to this he didn't look too young, and I said to him, "How old are you?" And he says, "I'm 33." And I said, "Okay, I've got to ask you this question." I said, "What do you owe, in medical costs for medical bills, and how long is it going to take you to, graduate or whatever it is, to the point of being a full, urologist?" And he says, "By the time I'm a full urologist," he said, "I'll owe over $500,000.
Wow.
And so that's why the doctors have got to charge, high levels of money, because they've got these bills to do.
It's crazy, man. It is crazy. But that's the dream that was sold. So I'm not surprised.
And with some of the, am I right in saying that with some of the data that they've got, they've said that people with degrees earn 30%, 40% more than at one time that was the case? I wonder if that's still the case.
I don't know if that's the case now. Even more, it's more specialty stuff, because you got people getting, no knock on anyone, the history degrees or education.
What do you do with a history degree? What do you do with a history degree?
What do you do with any of them?
Like, bro, just read a book or something.
Yeah, some of these suck.
You can be a teacher.
Yeah, teacher is what it's for.
Yeah, that's really it.
And I've honestly,
but America's
kind of off topic, but I think it's weird how people, and obviously teachers are like the most important part to the infrastructure of society, but why would you want to be a teacher and make like $25K a year in a landlocked job? Like, there's no corporate ladder with teaching, you know what I mean? Like, once you become a teacher, you're a teacher.
But
and you're making like $40K a year.
I watched something the other day where there's a shortage of teachers, especially in rural areas, and they're getting teachers from other countries. They're now getting teachers from the Philippines.
There's no financial incentive to do it. The people that I know that teach, they complain about the pay, which quite frankly, if you do it just the way we work, 40-hour work weeks, teachers get paid more than a whole lot of people when you look at the schedules, right? But they complain about the work, they complain about the kids, they complain about the parents, which I can understand, because some of the parents just don't raise the kids like they used to. But many of them get into it because it's a steady paycheck. You're going to get it. You're going to get the weekends off. You're going to get the holidays off. You're going to get the summers off. So it's like, shoot, I might as well go and do this. And, I can at least survive.
One of the interesting part was with the article that I read, and it was a rural job in somewhere like Iowa or Utah, in a rural area, that applied to get a teacher in the local area. They couldn't get one. So the education superintendent decided to go international, and they actually found a teacher in the Philippines. And, they showed the interview, and they basically said, well, the first 12 months was a bit tough because the coaching, what did they say? The teaching management skills was different, because it's different in the Philippines to what it is in America. Just classroom management, they called it, So I thought that was interesting that, and that's what I find at times, social management over here is completely different to how it is in Europe.
It is.
All right. And then let's wrap up with something a little bit lighthearted.
So if you're looking for your packages,
we found them for you.
We have found where your package is. It is on the way.
Which package are we talking about?
Well, It's out for delivery. Let's just say that. Check out this video.
I'm a crackhead, ayy. I'm a crackhead. I'm just trying to.
Here we go.
Oh my gosh.
It's taking.
At the end of the night, my mom is so bad and my booty so tight when I.
So here it is, an Amazon Prime truck.
Well, it's definitely Prime.
It is Prime.
Well, perhaps not too Prime. She could be better looking.
So here's my question: what kind of Amazon Prime membership does she have? Is it like a Prime Gold level, or what is it? She's in the back of the truck.
Oh, she's got the double gold level.
She's got something.
She's getting more treatment.
she's getting the extra premium membership.
Perhaps she was helping him, just make sure his packages were in order.
Sorting the package.
She was helping his packaging.
She was helping him sort the package. That's what it was.
I want to get Jeff Bezos on this show to ask him what he thinks about that. Is that the new Prime service?
So I can't tell if there's any kind of identifying numbers on that truck. But man, if this guy gets caught that he was out in whatever this Amazon place was,
is it worth $15 an hour?
Man, is it worth $15?
This is wrong.
$15, yes, right there. But man,
I don't think it's worth $15 at all.
I don't know if you can tell where that is, but that dude, man, that video's been on TikTok and it has gone viral because she jumps out of there with no shoes on, just a little black dress. Probably a family member can identify her. I can't see that you can see the guy, other than it looks like it might be a black guy.
How'd you know that?
It looks like it. Just from.
It is a black.
What, you can see the guy there?
Yeah, it's black.
Oh, is that him there?
Yeah, that's his arm. And it looks like he got dreads. But there she is. She just jumped on somebody there and like, hey, boom, there we go. Package delivered.
Which way? Which way is the package delivered?
Who knows? However she likes it. However she likes
Do you think it was like a fantasy, you got fantasy football, that's fantasy Amazon Prime?
Could be. Definitely could be. But man, there's been a good discussion today, man. Good discussion.
I think it's been a good discussion. A lot of good points.
Good information. I know that there's always a piece of financial advice there that you guys can grab, that we want to give you some gems to use in the future. And hopefully you can share this with whoever, your friends, your family, colleagues.
It'd be nice to get some people
Anybody.
sort of, commenting on, and if they're investing in things, to see what's working for them, what's not working for
Absolutely.
them.
Because we all have our opinions, but, we're not
Absolutely.
the experts.
Yeah.
We just want to know, what are y'all investing
I'd sent Jack a link. I don't know if you could put it on at the bottom if anybody's interested in the IM Academy and they want to sort of give that a go. I found it useful personally. I sort of took my time because I was a bit wary of, being scammed. But if anybody wants to give that a go, there was a link that we had that I sent to Jack for the IM Academy. I found it useful because I knew absolutely nothing.
Right.
And there's morning calls from different people, whatever you specialise in. I have the elite package, but I thought it was very, very useful.
Cool. Well, we thank you for joining us today.
We appreciate you, boys and girls.
Absolutely. As always, the information, if you need to start a career in real estate and or mortgage, look down in the description below. You can reach out to us. We look forward to talking with you and seeing you here every Wednesday at 10 o'clock.
Thank you, everybody. See you next week. Nice, bright and early and motivated.
Absolutely.